Now, thousands of children across the country are ditching their textbooks and abandoning their classrooms to attend pro-Palestine marches. In one social media clip from East London, pupils still in their uniforms can be seen waving flags, holding posters, and even chanting, "Israel is a terrorist state." Meanwhile, in Bristol, schoolchildren delivered a petition calling on MPs to back a ceasefire in Gaza after spending weeks collecting signatures. The government says that while young people should be able to peacefully express their views, they shouldn't be missing out on their education to do so. This comes as more than 150 pro-Palestinian protests are planned up and down the UK tomorrow, with organisers planning smaller action in villages, towns and cities instead of the huge national marches seen in the capital in recent weeks. Well, in my opinion, a child's place is in school. A child's place is not on the picket line, not on protests and not on demos. Of course, we should be teaching our children the values of compassion and empathy, and absolutely talking to them and explaining to them about this horribly, appalling, complex situation out in the Middle East. I definitely think we should be talking to children about this, but not politicising them, not weaponising them, not indoctrinating them, and certainly not getting them out on demos.
That's it. It sounds exactly like indoctrination.
It does.
Some of the things they're chanting, Israel is a... That was the guy on the microphone, and then the crowd of young people shout back, terrorist states. This is not the kind of thing you should be teaching kids. Personally, I don't know why these kids are out of school and the parents aren't getting a fine for it. They should be getting fined. You take your kid out of school, you get a fine.
It's interesting because I live in Bethnal Green and I saw this march happening yesterday and lots of the kids were with their parents. So I think actually there was quite a lot of consent with regards to taking those kids out of school. And I actually think it's kind of awesome that these young people are feeling so galvanised about something. Young people get such a bad rap for not caring about politics. All they want to do is watch, nonsense on TikTok and care about the Kardashians. And I thought it was actually quite brilliant to see young people take to the streets. I mean, obviously, some of the chanting is, leaves something to be desired. And we're seeing that on every march at the moment. They are being hijacked by a really small minority. But I actually thought it was kind of quite brilliant to see young people really caring about something.
It's not a small minority at all.
Well, that was one person, wasn't it? That was one person on a march.
In order to have those chants, first of all, to teach children to ditch school, when frankly us, the taxpayer, are paying for it, is disgusting. I think parents who allow that shouldn't be parents. And I think if you're going to even have the base level of misunderstanding as to what they're chanting, setting aside the Israel, I thought we said never again. But when it comes to even calling for a ceasefire, if you call for a ceasefire, it means that you don't understand what ceasefire is and you don't understand what Hamas says and stands for. And so until or unless people are given at least that base level of information, then I think that we are indoctrinating our children.
That's assuming they're being indoctrinated just because you disagree with them. What I think is irresponsible here is obviously politicizing kids in this way, but also I think it's irresponsible for any parent to not want to protect their child from certain harsh realities. Like you said, this is a complex and nuanced situation.
Very, very complex situation. Where have they got that view from? Where have they got their opinion from?
I've been very consistent on my view. I don't think Israel's invasion of Gaza is very wise, and I've been very straightforward about that. But if I had a child, I would never, first of all, take them out of school, but also parade them on the streets to be shouting something that they clearly have no understanding of. That doesn't, if the parents are shouting it, that's fine. I'm not going to say, oh, you don't understand what's going on, because that's patronizing. They have their view and we should respect it. But I do disagree. Yes, we should respect it, because that's their view.
So you would respect it. Somebody had a view and they decided that they were going to be, I don't know, racist chants or anything else. That's acceptable, is it?
That's what happens in a country with free speech. Right? So far as they're not inciting violence, that's what happens. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable with it. But I'm sorry, that's their right.
But let's pretend.
One voice at a time, please.
Let's pretend that children can understand. For many of us are holding these two conflicting views of compassion on both sides, while still holding a very, very clear remembrance of what happened on October the 7th and how appalling that was, and the fact that Hamas are terrorists. But don't pretend that children they've been given those views. They've been given those views by their parents. They can't appreciate or get their heads around the situation in the Middle East at the moment. The fact that they're out on protests and demos is wrong.
Well, to parents worried about their children being punished over any absences, the group Stop the War Coalition insists. We've been assured by those working in schools that whilst this would count as an unauthorised absence, a child can have up to 4 days in a row unauthorised and would need 10 in a short amount of time to be fined. Please do check, though, with your own school policy. Well, things have changed since my day in school.
Why does Stop the War Coalition, which I'm assuming probably claims some kind of charitable benefit?
I just think, to do with it?
I just genuinely struggle that we are... On one hand, I get free speech. I understand what free speech means, and I understand that we will sometimes be upset or annoyed or offended even by free speech. That's fine. But when we are encouraging children to take action that ultimately destroys or potentially destroys their education. It's not just theirs, by the way, because a child takes a day out of class, that disrupts the rest of the class. It's ultimately selfish of them to do that on this basis. I think it's appalling.
Guys, it was 4 hours on an afternoon about an issue that we know, people really care about. Bethnal Green has got one of the highest Muslim populations in London. This issue is something that pre-existed before October 7th, and it's totally possible to be a young person on that march and to both condemn what happened on October 7th and also have huge empathy and concern for the humanitarian crisis in Palestine, in Gaza. And that is what those people were marching about.
What would be really great is if we could teach children the compassion and the understanding and the empathy and the kind of being able to hold two views at the same time, which everyone on social media doesn't seem to be able to do, that you're either on one side or the other, you're either a terrorist or you're a killer. That would be good. Children, teach them that, and that'll give them skills for life. Don't get children to take sides, and don't politicise them.
And why are they going out of school time? We're literally having protests every single weekend. Why are those kids going with the parents on the weekend? And why are these parents working? More reasons why this country's going down the drain.